Washington, Christopher Wray, the FBI director, clashed publicly with the president for the first time on Wednesday, condemning a push by House Republicans to release a secret memo that purports to show how the Bureau and the Justice Department abused their authorities to obtain a warrant to spy on a former Trump campaign advisor. The FBI was provided a limited opportunity to review this memo the day before the committee voted to release it, the Bureau said in a statement. As expressed during our initial review, we have grave concerns about material omissions of fact that fundamentally impact the memo's accuracy. Though Mr. Wray's name was not attached to the statement, the high-profile comment by the FBI thrust him into a confrontation with President Trump, who abruptly fired his predecessor, James B. Comey. Mr. Trump wants to see the memo released, telling people close to him that he believes it makes the case that FBI and Justice Department officials acted inappropriately when they sought the highly classified warrant in October 2016 on the campaign advisor, Carter Page. The president's stance puts him at odds with much of his national security establishment. The Justice Department has warned repeatedly that the memo, prepared by Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee, is misleading and that its release would set a bad precedent for making government secrets public. FBI officials have said privately that the president is prioritizing politics over national security and is putting the Bureau's reputation at risk. People who have read the 3.5-page memo say it contends that officials from the FBI and the Justice Department were not forthcoming to a foreign intelligence surveillance court judge in seeking the warrant. It says that the officials relied on information assembled by a former British intelligence officer, Christopher Steele, without adequately explaining to the judge that Democrats had financed the research. Mr. Page, a former Moscow-based investment banker, had been on authorities' radar for years. He had visited Moscow in July 2016 and was preparing to return there that December when investigators obtained the warrant in October 2016. The memo has come to the forefront in a string of attempts by Mr. Trump's allies to shift attention from the special counsel investigation into Russian election meddling and toward the actions of the investigators themselves. Republicans in Congress and in conservative media have asserted that the memo will show political bias in the early stages of the Russia investigation. The Republican-led Intelligence Committee voted along party lines on Monday night to release it, invoking an obscure, never-before-used House rule to sidestep the usual back and forth between lawmakers and the executive branch over the government's most closely held secrets. Democrats on the committee objected and have prepared their own 10-page point-by-point rebuttal of the Republican document. The committee voted against releasing the Democrats' memo publicly. Under the rule, Mr. Trump has 5 days to try to stop the release for national security reasons. Democrats have called the Republican document a dangerous effort to build a narrative to undercut the department's investigation into whether Mr. Trump's associates colluded with Russians and whether Mr. Trump obstructed justice. They say it uses cherry-picked facts assembled with little or no context and could do lasting damage to faith in federal law enforcement. The FBI statement ran counter to the decidedly low-key approach that Mr. Wray has taken as director, avoiding news media interviews and delivering anodyne speeches to law enforcement groups. He had worked quietly in the hopes of keeping the FBI out of the president's crosshairs. Mr. Wray had strongly objected to the move to release the memo and was allowed to review it only on Sunday, after the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Devin Nunes of California, relented. Mr. Wray made a last-ditch effort on Monday, going to the White House with the Deputy Attorney General, Rod J. Rosenstein, to try to persuade the White House to stop the release of the memo. They spoke to John F. Kelly, the White House Chief of Staff, but were unsuccessful. Mr. Trump could only block the release of the memo, not make it public himself, but with his approval, House Republicans were expected to move quickly to unveil the document. Mr. Kelly said on Wednesday that he expected the memo to be released pretty quick, while cautioning that White House lawyers were still reviewing it. Ultimately, though, Mr. Trump was eager to see the document released. Even as the White House's review was continuing, Mr. Trump was overheard on Tuesday night as he exited his first State of the Union address, assuring a House Republican that he would see to the document's release. Oh, don't worry, 100%, Mr. Trump told the lawmaker, Ripra.